going on, everyone? This is your host, Sean Johnson, creator of Benchminer Hockey, and welcome to episode number 26 of the Benchminer Hockey Podcast. This is the hockey podcast that covers single-A hockey news and stories from players and staff. If you are listening to us on Apple, be sure to give us a follow. If you're watching us on the YouTube series, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And this is our very first SPHL episode. My first guest, head coach of the Macon Mayhem, Mr. Nick Niedert. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. I wanted to get this started with a bang. I figure if I'm going to have the first SPHL episode, I want it to be someone with a big resume.
It's long, that's for sure. There's but also at the same time there's a lot of very lengthy resumes in the league.
That's
For
true.
coaches, Jean Guy's very storied. Coach Bess, Dave Pichesney, all of them. They have had long careers and long coaching careers too.
Absolutely. So I actually haven't seen you since you were wearing that crazy green and black jersey in Elmira. What have you been up to?
Let's see. That was that was pre-lockdown, pre-shutdown, pre-everything. Obviously, we went to the finals that year, had a lot of success. Lost in game 4, I believe, in overtime. But then went on to stay in Danbury. It was our first year of the hat tricks. Went through a lot of things in the off season. Just kind of a tough year all in all. Tough start, a lot of personal things going on, and just couldn't really bounce back from it. And then played in Watertown tried to play in Watertown, and then they disbanded right at the beginning of the COVID year. And then was fortunate to go play in Port Huron to finish out my career, and then took over mid-season replacement with Vermilion County last year, or I guess 2 seasons ago, and then did that. And then last season was with Makin got hired the very end of August. So season just got over a few days ago. So looking forward to off season of recruiting and starting the whole process.
Yeah, the summertime stuff, that starts to get fun, huh?
Yeah, it was difficult last year, especially getting hired right before Labor Day, and then calling players, I'm signed. Calling players, I'm signed. It was it was very slim pickings, and I spoke to a lot of the other coaches last year, June, July. They were calling, asking questions about a couple players that we had in Vermilion County, and asking character questions and reaching out, signing them. So when that started happening in June, I knew that if I were fortunate to get a job, it was going to be very tough. I talked to one coach, I think it was 4th of July weekend. Talked to him. I'm like, hey, how's everything going recruiting wise? Like, I'm looking for one more player. I have 20 signed right now. And that was in July. He had 20 commitments. And
Goodness
I'm
gracious.
sitting there with my face in my hands. I'm like, if I get a job, this is going to be extremely difficult. And it really was. But, it was a learning experience. It was a lot of fun and able to piece together a pretty darn good hockey team there.
Absolutely. We'll get to that in just a minute. I kind of want to talk about your playing career a little bit because I just think that your resume is, you're right, it's very lengthy, but I want to talk about where you've been, some experiences you've been through. So first off, I would ask you where your favorite place to play was, but since you have a long resume, where were your favorite places to be?
So I started out, my rookie year was 2004, 2005, first lockout. Very difficult to jump into pro
Mm-hmm.
hockey there. The next year I was in Huntsville for 2 years there. Really enjoyed my time there. I had an outstanding experience. Coach Gibson was there. It was right when Mr. Jeffries took over the year prior. Changed their name to the Havoc 0405. I was part of their team 5, 6, and 6, 7. Really enjoyed my time with Huntsville. Ownership organization, everything, you name it. It was great. Uh, but towards the later part of my career, I loved playing for the Elmira Jackals. I loved being a wheeling nailer. Enjoyed the heck out of my time with the Enforcers, obviously, and Elmira. We had just good group of guys, but there weren't many bad places in my entire stretch. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Organization wise, there were some tough places to play. But from the outside looking in, you would think, let's take Wheeling for example. Been around forever, and they treat their players like gold there. The city is very supportive. I absolutely loved my time in Wheeling, small town. It was a lot of fun. Different amenities, obviously, than you see in Orlando or Salt Lake with Utah. But there's a lot of great places I've been around and a lot of great people I ran into.
Absolutely. Can you tell me how many states you've played in? Or did you lose
49.
track?
49.
That's
Never
nuts.
been to Hawaii. Don't plan on going.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Why not
In my
Hawaii?
career, I hate flying.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I hate flying and not really a beach person, surprisingly.
Really? Man.
Being from the Great Plains, you would think, right?
Yeah, really, yeah.
No, that's the only state I haven't crossed off the list in my career. But
All
I don't
right.
plan on going there anytime soon.
All right then. That narrows that down. I didn't think it was that high. I thought maybe like 25. I wasn't expecting
No,
49.
49. Been to
That's
49
insane.
states. Yeah.
So let's talk about your retirement a little bit. So in 2021, when you decided to hang up the skates after 20 years, was it kind of like an easy decision? Were you like, my body's done, or did you kind of go back and forth a little bit?
Um. No, I thought about it a couple years prior. Um, really thought about it when Danbury, when the Titans left. I had a great job there at West Coast Sports Center. Worked there for on and off for 10 years, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed my time there. Definitely contemplated it, but I knew I had more in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Then Elmira got the team with the Enforcers, and you know, Mr. Nichols was, you know, part of my career for years, and talked with him and felt it'd be best, and went back and played. Obviously, we had a great year, made it all the way to the end, and just ran out of time. Um, but then a lot happened, and I thought, I'll play in Danbury to help, with the Titans, or not the Titans, sorry, with the Hat Tricks, and kind of start that organization, tradition, whatnot. And hockey really wasn't that important to me,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't want to end it on that note. Um, Obviously, a lot happened with when the country shut down. Right, everybody
Mm-hmm.
goes through. Would everybody went through something to a certain extent, and you know went and when things were still hairy, went and played in Watertown while we had a team, and then didn't work out. Figured I worked too hard to get back into it again, so went to Port Huron and ended on my own terms. I was able to say when I was done, and uh, mom and dad got to come to one more game, watch me play, and you know played really well that night, and that was it. I was done after that. I played two more games after that one game, but my hockey was done. I kind of emptied the tank that night, and I knew it. And
Yeah.
it was a special night for my family and I, and guys enjoyed it. We ended up winning again the next day, and got to go out with the guys after. Nice restaurant in town. Went and grabbed a bite with my mom and dad. All the guys were there. Um, hung out, talked with them. But it was it was a perfect way to go. Played 2 more games after that, but I was already done. I was already
Gotcha.
That was it. So, but it was good and ended on my own terms. A coach didn't tell me I was done. A doctor didn't tell me I was done. I did it on my own, which was nice, and was fortunate to tell a lot of people that it was done, and went out, finished it, and that was it. Never looked back.
Yeah, that's a great way to go. Like you said, you don't have to have a coach tell you, your time's up. You don't have to have a doctor tell you your time's up. You decide. So, congratulations on a great career. Um, I know I've only known you for a few years at the tail end of it, but it was awesome watching you play. Um, I want to know, once you retired, did you think that you're completely done with hockey, or did you know that coaching was in your future?
I knew it was in there somewhere. Um, whether it was, I knew I was going to be in the game. I knew I was going to be in the game. Uh, talked to a lot of major companies towards the end of my career there. I had a lot of input with, out of the big four, three of them, three of the hockey companies. Helped design gear, helped with the research and development part, flying to Montreal, flying to Miami, flying, all over the place, meeting with top executives and designers, all that. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
Coming from the guy that
I
hates flying,
hate flying. It would be fine when I got there. It was just getting there was awful.
getting there.
Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, that was a tough part. But at least from Hartford to Montreal, it was like an hour and a half flight. It was nothing. So getting there was fine. Going through customs was fine. But working with CCM Bauer, Vaughn in Detroit, working with those companies, it was great. Being able to give feedback, seeing things a couple years later that guys are wearing, and kind of giggling, and ask them questions. Oh, how do you like this product? And do you think you could change this? You could change that. I would honestly write all this stuff down, and I would be in my car on the way home from the rink, sending executives and research development guys texts or emails like, hey, did you ever think of tightening this strap or doing away with this or whatnot? So it was a lot of fun to have a hand in that. But I wasn't sure which direction I would go. Unfortunately, when I was offered the Vermilion job in November, um, biggest thing was I got a head coaching job right away, which that's very hard to come by, especially when you're done
Mhm.
playing. It's very hard to come by. And I was going home. Danville is only 5 hours from home. I hadn't been able, my dad wasn't doing well. My mom's handling everything by herself here. It was nice to come, be 5 hours from home to where, we'd play in Quad Cities, we'd play in Peoria. I could drive separately and then drive home the rest of the next 2 hours or whatever. So it was nice to be able to finally be home for Christmas, spend a lot more time with my family, and it was perfect.
Right. Speaking of Vermilion County, how did that opportunity kind of present itself?
Um, Ellen, she was the owner of the team. Um, she reached out to me in the off season. We talked about things with Brent Hughes at the time. Obviously, there was an issue with his paperwork coming over. Didn't work out. They went through another change, and it kind of fell into my lap really. Um,
Hmm.
she asked me on a thing because Port Huron was actually, it's kind of ironic. Port Huron was in town to play Danbury, and um, Matt Graham and Alex Johnson asked me like, "Hey, do you want to stand on the bench? We're playing in Danbury for the next two." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I did that
Hmm.
Friday, and then on my way to the rink Saturday, I spoke to her Friday night, and then Saturday she was like, "What do you think? You want to come be interim for a little bit while I find somebody?" And I was like, him and Han about it, and I was like, "You know what? Sure, that sounds good." It was going to be a short term thing. It turned into much longer than it was. But I was beyond thankful for the opportunity, obviously. But,
Right.
was I ready for the head coaching job? I mean, that's tough, right? Like coming from playing to taking over, it was a lot of obstacles, right? So
Hmm.
everything's brand new. Um, you know, the team was very young, a couple older guys, which definitely helped. But it was a lot of learn as you go. And I had to
Gotcha.
learn very quickly, and a lot changed dramatically there. So, fortunately, when I got to town, Robbie Nichols was actually in town too. And
Hmm.
his marketing team, Mark Witt, Rick was there, Anthony was there, John Clement was there. Basically, it was all the guys from the Enforcers, and that really helped. Like that
Right.
really dramatically helped walking in first day, seeing all these guys that I had before. It just kind of there was a lot of nervousness, and it just went out the window when I saw those guys and saw them. You know, Robbie had that rink in his crew; they had it full in 4 days. Like it was incredible. They came in on the weekend and literally sold the place out back to back nights and filled the dasher boards and sponsorships. And I don't know how the heck they did it, but they crushed it. And if it wasn't for
Mhm.
them, who knows what would have happened. Ellen hired them, but it was just a comforting thing knowing that those guys were in the office and I knew what they were capable of. And Robbie's been around the game forever. He helped me out dramatically, so it was great to have them right off the get go.
Right. Definitely made that transition much easier for you.
Easily.
So I know in Vermilion County, I'm not going to get too deep into Vermilion County, but there was a lot of moving pieces. There was a plethora of coaches. You were one of them, which you just told us. It was only short term anyway. It wasn't meant to be a long term situation. Um, why do you think there was such a roller coaster going on there? Like, what was changing constantly?
Well, I mean, right when I got hired, um, Robbie and his crew were there. I know they had some front office people leave right before they got there. Um, you know, first year franchise, you're always going
Hmm.
to have, obstacles no matter what. Um, you know, every organization's gone through it. And, you know, it was a lot of adversity, especially, I mean, for example, um, a lot of like the arena, it didn't help much. When you get there early in the year, they have the what's it called, Festival of Trees. They've done that for
Hmm.
years. Ice is out for I think it was almost 20 days or something. Um, it was interesting. So I got there. We had the home games, and then they took the ice out. We were practicing in over in Carmel, Indiana. Um, at that time, we are going over there. The van's coming back. Um, it was everything that could have gone wrong for an organization went wrong. John and I
Hmm.
were driving over to pick up the vans from, I believe it was Champaign. So numerous things happened. One day, the vans collided with each other
Oh boy.
in the parking lot when we got there. That was one. There was a time where one van was ready, the other one wasn't because it needed an oil change. It was just like so many things like that could possibly go against the favor. It did. And that was tough, right? I mean, this is all completely out of anybody's control that worked for the organization. Um, so we went to Roanoke for a road trip. Our driver got lost. I don't know how. We were in the middle of nowhere in Virginia, like dirt road, made a U-turn in somebody's driveway. Like it was tough. And this was I think I was employed there for, I think, maybe 9 days. And I'm just trying to keep it together. And, it was an interesting thing, but we come back from Roanoke. walking into the arena, if you're familiar with Danville, there's the where the Zamboni door is. There's the big garage door where the Zamboni can drive out by the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
We park the bus there and we walk underneath and we're going in. I'm the first one and I have a bag in my hand. I look up. There's people walking out of my office. Like I had a iPad in there. I had a bunch of stuff. Gone. All of it. I had a locked
What?
office and yes, this is during the Festival of Trees. And then there were people in our locker room. It was incredible. But we were all on the road and everything was had passcodes and somebody from the
Mm-hmm.
rink just let them in and whatever. So I mean, there was a lot of obstacles there that, you know, one day for practice the Zamboni blade dropped and it tore out the one crease,
Mm-hmm.
like down to the cement. So there were a lot of things that happened that were just, it was just the way it went sometimes. But
You weren't kidding.
you know, it was no, it was everything that possibly could have gone wrong that the organization literally had no control over would happen.
Now it's kind of funny that you brought up the story about the bus driver getting lost because I'm sure at the time you're probably livid, but like now we're laughing about it. These are the stories
Oh,
people love to hear.
there was another time uh, when with Vermilion, we were driving back from Evansville, and it's literally a straight shot. Like it is a
Mm-hmm.
straight shot. And our driver got on the interstate, and I looked up, and we had a 10 a.m. game, the kids' game in Evansville, and the driver literally had the headphones on, and the GPS kept saying recalculating. And it was towards the end of our time, and I looked at Mike and Jason, the equipment guy and the athletic trainer, and John. Let's just see how long it takes him. We were almost to St. Louis, and he found out that we're going the wrong way. So it took a while to get back that day.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
man! Some of these stories, you think you hear everything, and then you hear another story that just beats the previous story.
yeah.
So,
There were
my,
some tough ones.
absolutely. So, my last question about Vermilion County here: what were some of the pros and cons of working for the Bobcats during their first season?
I mean, it's all subjective, right? It
Right.
really is. It's all subjective. I mean, you know, you can take any situation, look at it as negative. You can take any situation, look at it as a positive. Um, you know, got to learn a lot about people, you know, being there. Um, you know, you got to see how hard people worked when their backs against the wall. Um, when things aren't going well, you get to see what type of character people have. Um, honestly, there wasn't too much negative about it. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was all part of the development, part of the process, and getting to learn a lot. That's for sure. And um, got a ton of help from all the other coaches in the league. They were all outstanding. And I even told Doug this at the end of the year. The commissioner there, I said, just to give you a heads up, all these coaches in the league helped out dramatically. They weren't selfish about it. They weren't, oh, look at your situation. We don't have that. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
They were all good to listen to. Everyone gave me their advice. Everyone helped me with a lot of things. And, you know, I learned a ton that year. And Glenn Dutelio from Huntsville, he told me right away, he goes, you are going to learn more this year than you will ever learn the rest of your career. It's like you could coach for 50 years. He goes, you will learn more your first year than you will the other 49 if you coached 50. So, no, I got to learn a ton. And I couldn't be happier that I was able to go through it and survived.
Right.
Still here.
Well, we're glad to see that. We're still glad to see you in the league here. Um, Same question, but different team. How did the
Yep.
Macon Mayhem job kind of come up?
Came up really late. Uh, I spoke to Doc. probably July, just saying hi. And um, there's an issue came up and connected with him, just say hi, see how things were going. And we had a really good conversation. And he asked me if I was going to be, coaching next year if I found anything. I said, no, I've spoken to a handful of teams about, possibly being an assistant, and, was looking more towards that really after, especially
Mhm.
after last year. Maybe I bit off more than I could chew right off the hop, so it was one of those things where, maybe, I played in Macon before, maybe go work with Zach. Um, he spent his time in the ECHL, and, maybe learn a little bit from him and maybe help him. Maybe we could turn things around. We both had tough years, and, maybe we could, get something going together. Um, and then that was the plan. And then there was a change. Zach went to Rapid, and they hired me. Probably the very end of August or beginning of September. So it all kind of started as conversations about being an assistant, and then the conversations changed one day, and ran with it.
Right. What was it about that organization that kind of appealed to you to become an assistant in the first place?
I played there. I saw, you know, part of the tracks there. Lost in the finals. They lost in the finals the year before. I believe it was the WHA2. Yes, they were in the WHA2. They lost in the final the year before, and um, playing there for Tommy Stewart, great group of guys, and I really enjoyed my time there. Even when we went down there with Vermilion, it was nice to go back and see a lot of the same faces that have been around for years. And
Mhm.
no, it was great. It was just one of those situations where, you know, also supply and demand, right?
Mhm.
Um, you know, Carr left Knoxville. Clarkey got hired pretty quickly. Um, Bremner was all set. Guy was all set for assistance. Pachesny was all set. I was talking to Coach Bess in Evansville about things, and then obviously this thing came up. So, no, I was talking to a lot of teams, and I think I interviewed with, it was double digits in the ECHL for assistants.
Okay.
Some of them I interviewed 3 times with. So I wasn't, nothing was set in stone, and obviously got this job, but it was just something that, I started my career there. So there's always going to be a place in my heart for the town like that. And
Mhm.
it was nice to be able to contribute and help out, and, try to get them back on the winning ways that they had when Kevin was there,
Absolutely.
Coach
Of
Kerr.
course. And what would you say your experience has been like so far there in Macon?
Uh, Walked into a beehive right at the start.
Mhm.
You're going to get your stings, but you're going to get through it. A lot of transactions at the start. You know, you look, and I believe there was 4 guys that stayed with us from the beginning of training camp until the final horn. Caleb Cameron, Devin Brink, Kyle Soper, David Nippard. I believe are the only 4 that were there from day one. Everybody else was pieced together shortly thereafter. Whether it was a trade, whether it was guys sent down from the ECHL at the start of the year, they got cut, they had nowhere to go. Handful
Yeah.
of college guys at the end, but it was it was a process all year. We were so close for so many games. I mean, it was ungodly. I believe it was 3/4 of our losses were with the goalie on the bench for the extra attacker.
Right.
That's how close we
Yeah.
were all
I was just about to
season
mention that
long.
too. A lot of your scores have been like one goal games. A lot of them.
Yeah, 1 or 2. Um, it was difficult. It really was difficult. The guys' motivation. We had great leadership group. Nippard, Cameron, Tremblay, even the young guys had a lot of swagger, a lot of opinion, and it was great. There was a lot of there's a lot of camaraderie there, and it showed at the end of the year. I mean, when you look at it, I knew we were going to have some trouble because our ice was gone a lot, and you are
Mhm.
literally in the middle of the state. The closest ice was hour and 45 minutes away, whether it was um, go to Columbus or you go to Atlanta. And not for nothing, driving to Columbus, it's going to be an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes.
Mhm.
When you drive to Atlanta, that could take 3 hours. You know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
we had a lot of practices. So this year, check this out. I guarantee you, no other team had this year. So we practiced 59 times, or sorry, 58 times. We played 57 games. We practiced 58 times this year. We would practice twice a week, play a 3-game weekend if our ice was gone. There was a lot of that. They have so many events. State basketball tournament. Um, they had the Christmas decoration stuff. Disney on Ice was there. Like the ice was out a lot. Concerts, whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, so 38 of them were at home. 20 were on the road. That's a lot.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah.
we missed 25 games due to players hurt. 76 games for the IR, which is we lost 101 man games for injury, and the craziest one is we lost 254 games to call up.
That's
That's
insane.
absurd. And to see the guys how well they played, how well how close we were in games,
Mhm.
it's incredible. It speaks volumes about the player's character there. It was like like you said, 1 2 goal games over and over and over again. It was wild. And then at the end of the year, um, we changed a couple things and opened it up. It was
Mhm.
exciting. It was a coach's nightmare at times, but to see the 7-5, 8-6, 5-4, 6-5, those were a lot of fun to be a part of when you're on the winning end, that's for sure. But
Right.
no, it was great though. It was great.
Right. I was like, these are not SPHL scores. What is going on right now?
Game 50, 8-6. It was like, are you kidding? All the other games 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. You look at the Macon games, 12 goals are being scored, 14, another 12. Like it was insane. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun though. It was high scoring, but intensity was high, and the best part was the character of the guys. They never, you get scored on. There's no slump shoulders at the end of the year. Guys like, oh, I guess we got to go get one now too. And
Mhm.
they were playing for each other, and it was incredible to see. It was great to be a part of.
Right. And I mean, obviously, the goal is to make playoffs, and I understand that you guys did it this year. But sometimes when a team doesn't make playoffs, they just play for pride, and it's so much fun to watch these teams play. So, like you guys, for example, Quad City was so much fun to watch. In the Fed Mississippi Seawolves, they were really fun to watch. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I thought the end of the year, granted, the teams were already set for the playoffs. I still had a great time watching these teams that weren't in.
No, there are a lot of games where I even told the players after. I said I would have bought a ticket for that one. I would have
Yep.
bought a ticket for that one. So no, it was great to see.
100%. So, I mean, like I just said, your squad didn't make playoffs this year, but what would you say, or would you say that they made major improvements from the previous season?
Easily, easily.
Yeah.
I might sound biased. I feel our team was the most improved this season, from start to finish. We kept getting better and better and better every day. At the end of the year, older guys shake hands. The captains usually, the last 10 games of the year, you wish the other team, success in the playoffs. Hey, great job this year. A lot of the other coaches in the league are like, I'm happy we're not playing you guys again. They're like, you guys are fine. You guys are coming. You guys have improved. A lot of coaches had great things to say. A lot of captains of other teams had great things to say. So it was great. You know, the league knew that we weren't messing around. We were there to compete. We were playing hard. You know, we were a tough team to play against, and you know that you know, losing so much of the core from the year before, uh, you start out with a new character, a new core, and you know, next year we're gonna have a pretty darn solid core coming back, and it's gonna be fun to get going again.
100%. I know that if I was in the SB as another coach and I'm seeing you guys put up 5 to 10 goals a game, I do not want to play you in playoffs. That's for sure.
No, no,
Nope.
we were if we were able to sneak in, we weren't. You know what? We weren't scared of anybody all season. We weren't. Um, I think there was only once we were a little. I don't think intimidated is the right word. We went up to Peoria, and you know what? I bet you, I'll take blame for it. Um, you know, letting the guys know how, you know, important it was to have a good showing against Peoria. I'm like, this team is very talented. This will be the best team we've played all year. We need to be prepared. We need to do this, this, this. And I think I was too. I think I was too hard on the guys about it, to the point where I think they thought we were beat before we even got there.
That's
Um,
fair.
you know, it was a long day of travel. We left, I believe it was Thursday morning, midnight. Um, Technically Thursday, late. We loaded it. I think it was like 11 o'clock at night Wednesday. Left right after. Drove to Evansville, Indiana. We only had the one driver. We skated. Got there at like 8 in the morning. Left at 4. Bad snowstorm. Like, it's only 5 hours. It took us another 10. Um, Driving through snow, driving through ice to get up to Peoria. So that night, like, we got in at, I think we checked in at like 1 in the morning.
Wow.
Not fun. Yeah. So do that, and then you know, it was a long day of travel, right? And then we had a pretty decent morning skate, and then everything could have gone wrong for us. Did everything could have gone right for them? Did, and we got
Right.
just shelled. We got just shelled, and then regroup next day. We had the lead 2-1 going into the third. Lost that one 3-2. But you know, it was. I think if I could do it over again, I think I would have handled that a little differently. Um, you know, more or less just tell the guys, hey, it's just another set of jerseys. They go through the same things we do. Just go out and play. I think I was too critical about how talented they were, and I
Mm.
voiced that a little too much. And you know, I'll say that one was my fault. We did have guys intimidated. We did, you know, and
Right.
I I would like to say that wasn't my issue, because that should be a player's issue, but at the same time, I should I should be better than that. You know, I should have just, you know, just said they're a good team, just like Birmingham, you know, just like Fayetteville, Pensacola, Huntsville, Knoxville. They are a good team, but they were on that run there at the time, and you know, they got their guys back from the coast like early, and they were just foot on the gas that February there.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, that was the tough part. I think I overhyped them too much, and it showed.
Gotcha.
It
Well,
showed.
like you said before, in your first season, you learned so much. So now, knowing what you know, going into next year, if you're in a similar situation, you kind of know how to handle it better now.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the way I look at it. I want to ask you about call ups since you kind of mentioned it. So when players have
Sure.
an opportunity to play at the next level, do you kind of push them to take that call up, or is it 100% their choice? They can stay if they want, they can go if they want. Because a lot of us fans
It
don't really
depends.
understand how call ups work.
No, 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 no. That's fine. It depends on the situation. Um, Sometimes I'm like, you need to take this. This is a great opportunity for you. More times than none, that was the conversation I had. A couple times where, hey, what do you think? Do you want to do it? And guys be like, oh yeah, I want to. And there's only in 2 years there was only one time where I told the guy, I'm like, this is not going to be good for you because
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't playing well. He wasn't playing well at all. Um, he was in his own head. He wasn't doing the right things away from the rink, and he took it. And it was a long time before he was able to go back. He didn't have a good
Gotcha.
showing. But I have had. The funny thing is, I have had conversations with coaches, and I think I'm the only one. Well, the coach told me, he goes, "You're the only one that's ever done that to me." Where I called him, I said, "You are not using this player properly. Like, this is what you need. Where you need to put him. Why did you put him here? Put him back on the other side. He was a righty playing left side, left winger, and he can't play on his backhand." So I was like, "You literally just wasted his time. Like, put him back on the right side where he belongs." And I said, he'll be more successful for you guys if you do that. And he's like, that's the first time a coach has ever said that to me. Usually guys want their guys back. I'm like, well, he's up there. So, I mean, give him an honest look. Like, put him back on the right side.
Right.
Give this guy some penalty kill time. He did it for me here. He can do it there. And, those conversations. So, but some of it is on the player. Some of it is on the coach. There
That's
are
fair.
coaches that don't want their guys going because they have a good thing going wherever. But then some, want their players to go up. I mean, if you get a opportunity for promotion, give it to them. If the player deserves a promotion, give it to him. That's my feeling. And, it has it hurt us in the wins and losses column? Yes. Most certainly it has. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, now somebody else gets more opportunity to play for you.
That's true. I just
So you take the good with
I
the
love
bad,
seeing
right?
players go up, but I just like you said, I don't like to see them used the wrong way. I know a lot of times, and I don't want to call out certain organizations, but there are times when a player will take a call up and then they just sit on the bench the whole time. The team just needed a body, and it really wastes the player's time
That's
and money
awful.
to get there.
You're wasting, yeah, and especially the ECHL. They pay your travel, they fly you in, they do all
Mhm.
these things, and it's frustrating because it's like, why did you just waste my guy's time? There's one player, won't say the organization. He was in the league, in the SPHL. He got called up to the ECHL. Good player too, really good player. He was up for 5 games. I think he played a total of 6 minutes. He played like 2 shifts a
Wow.
game. It's like
Hmm.
he was up there for 2 weeks collecting a paycheck. They flew him in. They do all this stuff, and they don't use him. So that's the tough part. You have to take the good with the bad, I guess. But he could have
Absolutely.
been helping out his SPHL team for those 2 weeks, and he missed 6 games or whatever. And
Right.
what? That's tough. That's really tough.
Absolutely. I want to talk about your team real quick. Um, I seen recently you guys kind of rebranded back to the Macon Tracks for a game. Was it kind of
Yeah,
cool to see that since you played for that organization? Was it back in '04, I think?
it was great to see. And then we played our worst home game of the year. Didn't go well.
Well,
Like, we literally played our worst home game of the year. And then the next day we lost the Friday night in overtime. Rebranded for the Tracks on Saturday. Played horrendous. Flat,
mhm.
just terrible. And then Sunday, great game against Quad, and
Mhm.
we won. So it's like we got 3 out of the 6 points, but oh my gosh, Saturday night was terrible. Never want to do that again.
Right. I wasn't even gonna bring up the score. I just wanted to bring up the jerseys, the looks.
Awful. Jerseys look great. We played
I did.
horrible. Horrible. Didn't
Moving
go
on
well.
from that subject.
There you go.
All right, just a couple more questions here for you, Nick. Um, just for the fans that have been asking, do you plan on returning to Macon next year to head coach the team?
Yeah, yeah. I signed a 2-year deal with them last August, so which is huge because with a 1-year deal just coming in, you're trying to change everything, right?
Hmm.
Systems, attitude, culture, whatever you want to call it, character. You know, to try to reinvent the wheel in 1 year, it's tough. It's really tough, and we have a small organization. That it's tough to do in a year. So I was happy that they were, you know, willing to do the 2 years, and that's what you kind of first year you set the tone, you keep getting better, better, better. Now expectations, the way we finished, that's where our expectations are next year. Expectations are going to
Right.
be high. We finished with extremely high expectations, and we're going to carry those into next season.
Right. And so now that we know you're returning, um, we know you have big expectations next year. What would you say are some of your goals for next season? I know a lot of people like to go immediately to the top. Oh, we want to win the President's Cup. I mean, that's great, but do you have any like personal goals or team goals already set?
Yeah, last year, let's see, what did I say? I wanted so the organization won 10 the year before. Um, I wanted 20. I would have been very happy with 15. Um, so many of those games lost in the last minute or in overtime. It was just, you know, it was unfortunate. Should we have won the 15? Absolutely. I wanted to lead the league in call ups. We did that. But my biggest thing was I want to be better game 50. Well, we end up playing 57 instead of
Hmm.
56. I said I want to be much better game 56 than we were in game one. And we were. We were. And, um, then that was a big thing, and that kind of sets the tone for the next year. Next year, I want to have a better start than we finished this year, and I want to make the postseason. That's it. It
Right.
doesn't matter where you finish. It doesn't matter. First or eighth. First, yeah, it's nice because you have home ice. You have the last change. But, with such a small roster, it's tough to have, line matching when you start to try to do that, start to get away from it. Guys see like, oh, why doesn't he trust me with this player? I think that's the biggest change in society is I had a lot of conversations this year when the player walked out of my office. I did this.
Hmm.
And I would think back, like, I would never imagine coming in to talk to my coach about that ever. And I
Hmm.
talked to other coaches in the league, and I just asked him, I said, do you get questions or comments that you would have never, ever said? And all the coaches said, oh, yeah, same thing. Um, but I want to finish in the postseason. I want to make the playoffs. I want to get into the dance. And then if things are going to go the same way they have been the past how many years, it's a best of three. The best
Hmm.
team always doesn't win the best of three. It's a bounce, it's a save, it's a power play goal, it's a terrible, penalty against. It's a blown off sides that the ref doesn't see. There's so many things that go into it. You just have to
Hmm.
be luckier than and healthier than everybody.
It's true.
So once you get into the
Just takes.
tournament, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you
Yeah. Look.
finish.
Look at San Diego State this year in March Madness. Anything can happen.
Anything's possible.
All right, last question for you here, and
Yeah.
this is no knock toward you or toward Macon, but since you're eliminated from the postseason, let's hear your SPHL finals picks. Who do you think are going to be the final
Oh,
two, and who's taking it all?
all right. So how's that game going tonight anyways? It should almost be. Oh, I saw Fayetteville was doing really well earlier, but it was 0-0. So that's going to be tough. Like, everything bases off of what happens tonight. All right, Birmingham's winning right now. All right, Peoria's through. Roanoke is through. Huntsville's through, and who knows what's going to happen tonight. So let's see.
It's
where
game
did
3
they
winner take
finish?
all, so it's a 1-0 game right now. So
all right, so if Birmingham wins, Peoria's playing Roanoke. Oh wow, that'll mean the top 4 got through, which those games were close too. A lot of those games.
Yes.
Peoria's good. Peoria's good. If they end up playing Roanoke next round, that is going to be an awesome one to watch. That'll be an awesome series. And then Birmingham Huntsville, if Birmingham hangs on tonight, that is a battle. So, Birmingham's out. Oh, wow. Fayetteville took it to them right away, and then, wow. All right, so
this is tough, isn't it?
Yeah. If it finishes the way it did, Huntsville, Birmingham, you would buy tickets to all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
Peoria, Roanoke, they played each other in the finals last year. Like, this is set up nice. This is set up real nice. If Fayetteville can pull it off, though, then Peoria's playing. Peoria would go to Fayetteville, play them, and then Huntsville and Roanoke. That'd be a tough.
I think we just jinxed it because Birmingham just scored again. It's 2-0 right now.
Okay, 2-rip. That's tough to come back on.
4:28 to go in the third right now.
Birmingham's out shooting them 10-2 in the third. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough sledding. That's real tough sledding. That's going to be a series. Both those are going to be a lot of history in the one and a lot of history in the other. So, sheesh. That'd be
Definitely.
Those. I don't know. You can't pick. That's impossible to pick.
Tough.
Those are coin flips. You could coin flip all those series and be like, yeah, that's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Absolutely. Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I would say we definitely got to have you back on the show here soon, though. So I definitely want you to come back.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, see you, man.
Oh, what a stop by Niedert! Stacking the pads and getting a glove on it. Sensational stop, Dominic Hasek style by the veteran.
That's a veteran move right there. Selling out and getting the glove on it.
Inner squares to the net. That one stopped by Niedert. Out to the high slot, Yarwood. His shot swallowed up by Niedert, and he holds with 33.5 to go. They're on their feet at Danbury Arena. The first win belongs to Nick Niedert. In recognition of their veteran netminder and the Danbury fan favorite. What a moment for number 39.